Hello, everyone. Welcome to our blockchain speaker series. Very excited to have Joe Bender joining us today, and he's going to talk about innovating with Bitcoin. And Joe has a very exciting career. I think he started it at Pittsburgh, and then around 2016, he joined the financial center of the United States, New York City. And since then, he's been an evangelist of blockchain and has been done very exciting work at Joint Consensus. Now he has moved on, and now he's part of the Blockstack team, and he's going to be talking about all the exciting stuff in the field on Bitcoin. So with that, take it away, please.
Thank you very much, Mo. Hey everyone, I'm Joe Bender. It's so awesome to be here. Yeah, I guess we can just dive right in. I'm so happy to see you all. You got such a big class here. It's a blockchain course. The syllabus looks great. You guys had some great speakers already, and very privileged to be here. Let's dive right in.
Wonderful to have you. Wonderful to have you.
Okay, my name is Joe Bender. As I said, I'm a developer evangelist at Blockstack currently. So when I think about the crypto space, you got to put a lot of focus on Bitcoin and Ethereum and like think about the moves that they're making and the development processes of those. So really glad you guys had these foundations already. And like Munib said, Munib Ali is the CEO of Blockstack. Just super smart dude, went to Princeton and has been in the blockchain space forever. And Google had the slogan, "Don't be evil," a long time ago. Don't be evil. Don't be evil. And Munib was like, no company on the internet should have so much power that they get to debate if they should be evil today or not. And that's so true. Like, Google does not use the "Don't be evil" slogan anymore because they're kind of evil now. Were they foreshadowing? Yes, they were. Yes, they were, Prem. And we at DevCon, one of the biggest like Ethereum conferences every year, Blockstack slapped a big billboard right outside the conference venue that said, "Can't be evil." It was like a huge marketing stunt and a lot of fun, but it was just showing kind of the difference between being such in control of the technology that you personally can decide if you'd like to be evil or benevolent as your tech god. And Blockstack was kind of taking jabs with like, we built technology so we don't even have the chance to be evil if we wanted to. Like, we can't harvest your data and sell it to advertisers if we wanted to. So that's kind of our buzzwordy slogan that I like. You guys are in a blockchain class, so I'm going to tear through this blockchain basic stuff because I'm sure you already know. But blockchain is synonymous a lot with Web3, Web 3.0. Let's take a look at the top Google search results for Web 3. Okay, what do we got here? Web 3.0, it seems to be connecting multiple devices. Okay, that makes sense. No, wait, Web 3 is looking at a tablet with a bunch of like plasma rays. Wait, no, Web 3 is a brain in a robot with your eyes, maybe biocompute. Nobody knows what Web 3 is. It's like a super buzzwordy term that's been labeled with blockchain a lot, but it's got a super amorphous definition. And when it comes down to it, Web 3 is like the liberation of the web from corporations and states and centralized entities. The internet started as a dope idea. Like, it was decentralized early on. The ARPANET, like when it was found in the military, it was just made of nodes and it was super bare bones core protocol. And one thing I always reference when talking about blockchain is people are always like, oh my gosh, the first decentralized infrastructure, we're here, we made it. Nah, I was like downloading LimeWire songs back in middle school. Like, if you ever used LimeWire or Kazaa or Napster way back in the day, those are decentralized protocols. That's the .torrent protocol. That can't be shut down. You can shut down the company Azareus or uTorrent or some of these clients that use the .torrent protocol, but you can't shut down the core base level protocol because it's decentralized and upheld by a network of nodes. And that's kind of what I think about with Bitcoin and Ethereum and all these decentralized networks. They are a protocol and they live in the wild, and they couldn't be shut down if a government even tried. I mean, they could go house to house and try to find all the nodes, but good luck with that. So the internet started as pretty decentralized, but you see up there, Google, Facebook, and Apple, they got their telescope, they're sussing the situation out. They know what's about to go down, and they're about to take all power for themselves. It's a nice little diagram I like, and I found it on the internet, and Blockstack was in it, so you got to use it. Like I said, internet started out as just like a wires and network, ARPANET, all the good stuff started in the military, GPS, internet, microwaves, I think, like all that good stuff. Then it transitioned to Web 1.0, which was static only. You know, you're going to pets.com and looking at leashes, or Yahoo and checking your mail, or wow, these are some old school websites. I actually still have my American Online. I have an AOL email address. I literally do, because my mom was diehard AOL. So now I kind of keep it as like my spam account. Yeah, so it was just like, here's an image, look at it and react to it. Web 2.0 is kind of what we're in right now, and it was much more read, write, bi-directional. Here's a photo, people respond to it and comment on it, or remix it, or, I mean, all the sites you guys use are in there. You know, Reddit, it's a very communal thing. Airbnb, changing the realty industry. PayPal, changing the payment industry. All that good stuff. So what I think Web 3 is instead of just like read, write, and visual and text and image and video, you're adding a native value into the internet. And I think that's when people have their like blockchain aha moments, is when you realize like to get value into the internet now, you have to use PayPal or use a credit card, or literally type your credit card into the web browser, like, and or use Stripe or something like that. There's no native value in the internet, and that's what blockchain brought: a network, decentralized network with native value baked into it, and that value is denominated in cryptocurrency. Yeah, I don't know like how much experimentation you guys have done with blockchain yet. You got that Ethereum rundown. Hopefully you've messed around with some Ethereum dApps, maybe crypto kitties or something like that. But there are all those dApps up there. Decentraland, you know, a multiverse, and prediction markets, betting on the election with crypto, or I used to play Blockjack. I lost way too many Ether when Ether was like $10 by playing this game called Blockjack, which is just blackjack with crypto. And it's super simple, but it's mind-blowing that you're like doing it in a completely decentralized fashion. No company is like taking a percentage. The online gambling industry is one of those ones that's just like absolutely brutalized by fees and like shadiness. You're not sure if it's actually fair or not, and half the time you like can't even pull your money out of the platform. You're just like playing in a little sandbox. Yeah, so we're really trying to get control and authority away from these massive conglomerates and companies. Like, these companies 4 times a year have investor meetings where they go in, and then the investors look at them and they're like, hey, how are you doing everything in your power to make as much money as possible from your users? Facebook doesn't care about you. All those other websites, Spotify doesn't care about giving you the best listening experience. They just want you to subscribe as many people to the plan as possible. So Web3, when you hear Web 3.0, shove all the buzzwordiness out and just think giving power back to the people, taking all the information out of these silos and these big scary warehouses at Google and putting them into decentralized networks. I mentioned Coinbase because Coinbase was like the black swan event for breaking onto the mainstream. I think crypto wouldn't be where it was today without Coinbase. It was kind of the first ubiquitous mobile wallet where people could just enter a credit card and now I have Bitcoin. And before, it was excruciatingly difficult. You'd have to go to a website and make sure it's secure and set up a wallet and all of these kind of convoluted steps. You had to hold your own keys and your own private keys. And Coinbase kind of obfuscated so much of the crazy complexity of crypto. And that's a huge theme and a lot of stuff that I'll be talking about today, of just how much do we shove blockchain down people's throat? How much do we try to hide it and just be like, this is new technology, like just trust us, it works just like the internet. When you use a website, you don't really know how TCP works. You don't know how like packets are being sent. You just hit refresh the website and the website loads. So right now blockchain's at like this weird limbo of like, how much do we educate users about blockchain, or how much do we just try to hide it and make it work? And We're just trying to gauge like how much the mainstream public values decentralization and values privacy. I know like early on, Ethereum just went so hard on like total education, total control of the user. And it was extremely daunting. People didn't want to hold their own private keys. People didn't want to remember 12-word seed phrases. They just wanted to buy Bitcoin with a credit card, which is why Coinbase just took off. Brian Armstrong and his team are doing good things. Yeah. Also, MetaMask, like my shirt. If you've used Ethereum at all, MetaMask is like an in-browser wallet. Just allows you to like interact with a bunch of dApps. Kind of made the dApp ecosystem took off. You guys might have learned about this a little bit with John Long last week. Coinbase MetaMask, as you can see, just really sexy UIs there, you know, just begging you to pour your US dollars into crypto. They both, you can see like MetaMask is like throwing hex data at you and you're like, what are all these ones and zeros? And Coinbase is like, look at this Bitcoin Saturn, like just the differences between the two. UI and UX is so critical to like always be paying attention to in crypto. Coinbase reached 30 million users so fast it made her head spin. Password login, Coinbase has your private key, which is kind of like obfuscating the crypto. You can buy crypto directly within the app. They're also implementing like more complex things than just holding your crypto, like staking. A lot of these protocols have staking mechanisms. You guys might know about proof of work and proof of stake, like two types of consensus mechanisms. Coinbase is allowing people to participate in that staking mechanism directly within the app. And then there's different verification levels, your phone number, personal info, verify with a photo ID. And Coinbase is good and Coinbase is cool for breaking on the mainstream, but if anyone's ever tried to like get crypto ASAP, they'll realize that Coinbase might not be the best because it takes like a couple days to approve your bank account and then a couple days to get your crypto and process the payment and everything. It's still an extremely centralized way to interact with crypto. And it's kind of like a band-aid. Blockchain like makes a lot of sacrifices to break into the mainstream and like get normal people using it. And I think that Coinbase is a necessary band-aid / evil / bridge to the mainstream. MetaMask just crossed like 1 million extension downloads, password login, but the user controls the seed phrase. So you can like migrate that wallet around. You can't buy crypto directly in it. It like shoots you out to something else. And you can choose between testnet or local, and they have a mobile app dApp browser. Since this is a Bitcoin presentation, I'm going to try to stay away from like dApps and MetaMask, but my Ethereum blood pumping through my veins forces me to mention it. I talked a lot about user experience. There's a myriad of ways people have tried to dress up crypto quality of life and just like make it easy. You can see there's a secret key. Some people like even further manipulate a private key into just like a 4-phrase key or something. There's the straight up private key, which is derived from your public address. Like that's the core, your private and public key. That is like the base layer control of your wallet. You can see Coinbase is just like, we're just going back to email and password. Super easy. Keep me signed in on this computer. Like keep all of my crypto available for anyone who opens my computer. And then MetaMask is doing like the seed phrase thing where you get a 12-word passphrase. It's a little less unmanageable than a private key, but still kind of intense and secure.
Wait, what's the difference between a secret key and a private key?
Yeah, so secret key, like Blockstack does that. We have like secret keys. It's just like how you're doing that like SHA-256 manipulation to get from like the public to the private key. You just do another different type of hash, a less secure hash than like SHA-256, but it's just like adding another relational random phrase that can be derived from your public key. So it's a little less unwieldy than a 32-digit hexadecimal string. It like might be able to be remembered by memory. Yeah, some apps have implemented that. Blockstack uses like a secret key. It's a little less unmanageable than a long code. Just like a different hash. Yeah, that's a really good question though, and I see it around, and it like makes sense in Blockstack's implementation, but sometimes I see it like being used to just like add an extra, sometimes unnecessary level of security. Also, yeah, like everyone chime in with questions and stuff, discussion, all that jazz. More exciting when people chime in. Networks and nodes. Oh, this is a real boring slide. Yeah, you guys know nodes are participants in a network. Network is made up of nodes. In blockchain, you have like full nodes, master nodes, light nodes, miners, super nodes, just different iterations of similar things depending on how much data it has. There's light nodes, which kind of like just plug it in the network so you can send a transaction. And then there's full nodes, which have the entire history of the blockchain, all of the ledger stored, kind of the immutable single source of truth. And then you have all these other crazy things. Master node is like the node that starts it with the Genesis block, and miners are nodes that are also helping to secure the network by participating in consensus. And these are all crazy words and sound super technical, but most of the time it's just like downloading particular software to your machine that's going to connect to the network. Yeah, on Blockstack, you just run a line in the terminal and the command line, and your node gets connected. Nodes are building blocks of the blockchain. Blockchains are blocks of data. Data is stored in those nodes. All nodes in the blockchain are connected to each other. They're constantly exchanging information so it can stay up to date. The most recent chain tip, the most current chain tip, that's the one that all the miners are piling onto and trying to mine the next block for. So I have the same slide twice. Enter Bitcoin. Look at this glistening high definition physical Bitcoin. Just so you all know, there's no such thing as physical Bitcoin. It doesn't exist. There's no such thing as any physical crypto. Do I still have like my physical Bitcoin up there somewhere? I used to have like fake coins. Bitcoin is the original, launched in the 3rd of January 2009. That's your birthday. That's my girlfriend's birthday. This is the raw hexadecimal version of the Bitcoin Genesis block. And I love to talk about this because it's like the conception of all this badass cypherpunk stuff that has happened in the last 10 years. And the more I'm in blockchain, the more I am just like marveled at Satoshi and the way it all went down. Yeah, January 3rd, he was like, let's do this, and made the Genesis block of the Bitcoin blockchain. And you can see on the right there, in the hexadecimal is encoded this newspaper cover. And this is the newspaper cover. I think it's the London Times. And the headline that day was Chancellor on the Brink of Second Bailout for Banks. If anyone knows 2009, if anyone's seen, what's the movie? Inside Job is the documentary. The Big Short. If anyone's seen The Big Short or lived through that time, financial crisis was crazy. The United States banks screwed the entire world because of their greed and malice. Oh, I still get my jimmies rustled by it every day thinking about it. Yeah, the American banking system just like forsook the American people. Is forsook a word? And there was a massive mortgage crisis. They were just giving out loans to anyone to buy a house. The housing market like looked like the best it had ever been, but it was standing on toothpicks, and it all came crashing down. And it was the bankers' faults and the loan makers' faults and the rating agencies' faults. The big behemoth, conglomerate, Illuminati, evil banking system finally collapsed, and it kind of destroyed the world, but was a little bit gratifying to see them like reap what they sowed. But then government stepped in and fixed everything with a magic fairy wand that printed a bunch of money. I think it was like 700 billion in the US or something, a bailout. And just the fact that the Bitcoin blockchain was launched in that tactful moment, and this, like, who even, maybe he woke up and saw this title. When I put the slide together, I was thinking like, did he plan this like weeks in advance, or was the morning, was he like, oh yeah, I'm encoding this in the Genesis block? And this right here is just what it's all about. It's about liberating power back from states and corporations and conglomerates that have a fiduciary duty to their investors to make money. Yeah, banks care about making money, not keeping your money safe. or enriching your life. So this was it. This is the beginning of it all. The whole blockchain movement launched on. Oh wow, it's like the same slide. It was the first widespread implementation. Like there were some. I think like it was. I forget what was Bitcoin before Bitcoin. Like weird like 90s names that you don't want to know. But Bitcoin was the first one that like made it, broke onto the mainstream, got some attention, gained a network effect. I will talk about Bitcoin's network effect till my deathbed, just because it's the king of the hill. It's the incumbent. It's going to be so hard for anyone to topple that top spot. Current market cap over $200 billion USD. Trust me, I was on the Ethereum train for a long time, just dying for the flippening. If anyone's like an Ethereum head, the flippening when Ethereum would finally flip Bitcoin. It's a long ways off, people. Bitcoin just is the only household name. You see graffiti on it with QR codes asking for Bitcoin. You hear it name dropped in Silicon Valley. What were we were just watching a movie, Save Yourselves. That was really good, where they mentioned Bitcoin. It's everywhere. And if you went up to someone on the street and said, you know what Bitcoin is, they'd be like, oh yeah. If you said, you know what Ethereum is, they probably wouldn't. So just, that's kind of like Blockstack's mission, tying it a little into the later stuff. Like, and my personal journey was like very tied to this, where I just realized like, wait, Bitcoin is not going anywhere. We should like do cool stuff with it because Ethereum is doing cool stuff with their crypto. This is what I'm talking about. Bitcoin's just always been king of the hill here. The market cap dominance is through the roof. There was one point here during the peak of crypto in July 2017 when it got real close. Consensus was super hype, but it just didn't go that way because of the network effect of Bitcoin, of the people opening Coinbase, the 14-year-olds like getting their parents' credit card and buying Bitcoin in Coinbase because they heard about it on TikTok. That's false. TikTok didn't exist back then, but you get what I'm trying to say. Lightning Network.
Oh, there are three that are fairly high in that.
Yeah, I have definitely been ignoring the other ones. Ripple, and I mean, let me pull up like CoinMarketCap. We can do these things. Oh gosh, maybe not. My screen sharing's paused. Oh, I'm screen sharing again. I forgot I was in Chrome. Yeah, let me, I like this. I like this exercise. There are a lot of cryptos. And it's funny because like so many of the ones in the top 100 are ERC20 tokens and based on Ethereum. So Ethereum most definitely has a massive capitalization on the DApp market and the DeFi market. Yeah, Ripple, and there's a lot of stable coins, Tether and USDC, Coinbase is stable coin. There's Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin SV. I will stand here on my hill and say, don't touch trash alt forks. Don't touch Bitcoin SV. Don't touch Bitcoin Cash. Don't touch Ethereum Cash Classic. I even forget what it's called at this point because it's so irrelevant. Those are just like diehard maximalist forks. Don't waste your money, people.
I have a question when you brought up Ethereum Classic. From what I understand, I don't know like too much about, cryptocurrencies, but I thought that if the blockchain is like changed, it kind of taints the whole, the whole idea behind it. And I thought Ethereum Cash, because when I was reading about that, I thought Ethereum Cash, which is like the classic one that has the chain that hasn't been changed, wouldn't that be the more attractive one, like long term?
That is a school of thought, most definitely. Fantastic question. Oh my gosh, we're really getting the philosophy of crypto. I'm sweating over here. It's so exciting. Yes, blockchains are supposed to be immutable, absolutely immutable. You hit the Genesis block, it's going, you can't do anything to stop it. And that's one of the benefits of them. That's the whole benefit of them. And that's what Bitcoin maximalists will die on a hill saying. Bitcoin has like never been forked. Well, their forks didn't like overtake the main Bitcoin chain. And immutability is critical because the states and governments and corporations are the ones that are like messing with the money and the money supply. So the fact that blockchains are immutable are their number one benefit. So in 2017, there was something called the DAO. The DAO was basically like the first DApp, the first like massive, crazy implementation of an application on crypto that wasn't just hold your crypto or transfer it to someone else. A DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization. Okay, I'm going to tear through all this. It's basically like a bunch of people put their crypto into a company, and the company is a machine. It's a company run by machine. It lives on the blockchain. So a bunch of people put money into a DAO, and then that DAO and the people that put money in can vote to disperse that money to various things. So there's a lot of like capital raised DAOs in Ethereum, where there's Moloch DAO or Metacartel DAO, where they raise a bunch of crypto from people, and then projects apply for grants, and they can like receive funding or capital or grants through the DAO. So the DAO was the original like massive project on Ethereum. It got a buttload of money in it, and then it had a massive critical security vulnerability, and it started to get funds drained out of it in minutes. It was going like crazy. Oh, a couple of my friends were in crypto during it and said they were losing so much money, and it was the craziest night. They're up at 4 a.m. calling each other and freaking out. So what happened after the DAO? It lost so much money. I forget how much, like $40 million or something. They decided to roll back the Ethereum blockchain to before the DAO hack, like it never happened, to give all the people back money who had lost their crypto. That was a very sensitive decision and event. And that is what caused Ethereum Classic to happen. So all the people who were like, the DAO, that was horrible and we lost a lot of money. Listen, let's just like hit the rewind button, go right back before the DAO and redo. That stayed as the main Ethereum chain. There were other people who were disgruntled and said exactly what you just said. Say, hey, wait a minute. Blockchains are supposed to be completely immutable. It's completely technology. How are we going to inject this human aspect to it? Because Vitalik, the founder of Ethereum, basically just stood up and was like, listen, we have to do this. And he just called all the exchanges, said, halt Ethereum trading, called all of the clients, Parity and Geth, all of the software that allowed you to connect to Ethereum, said, we got to roll back the chain. And they did. They rolled back the chain to before the DAO hack. And there were a lot of people, just like, I don't know who said that. I think Akichi, maybe? Ikochi, pardon me, who said, this is bullshit. This isn't blockchain. And that is why Ethereum Classic still exists. So people that still believe in the immutability of blockchain just didn't follow that new chain tip that pretended like the DAO never happened and just continued that blockchain that the DAO hack did happen on. And now there are two parallel Ethereum chains. There's Ethereum and then there's Ethereum Classic. And the Ethereum Classic, the DAO hack still happened on it. Now, your guess is as good as mine. Probably a decent amount of like diehard people that were like, I think blockchain should be immutable, so I'm going to stay with Ethereum Classic. But there's also a lot of shadiness that people think that a lot of the nodes and diehards on Ethereum Classic benefited from the DAO hack in some way and maybe received some of those stolen funds. And it's a similar thing with Bitcoin and Bitcoin SV and Bitcoin Cash, but less security vulnerabilities and big hacks and more just differences of ideologies and the protocol mechanism, changing block sizes or certain like amount of megabytes in a block. Honestly, like I don't even fully understand it because it's like hardcore protocol level technical stuff. And there were just ideological differences in the Bitcoin community. And that's why all these other Bitcoin chains popped up, because when the decision was made to modify the original blockchain, there's always going to be a subset of people that say, this is bullshit, let's stay with the same chain. So that's why you get those forks. If you ask me personally, I think that rolling the DAO hack back was a fantastic idea. It was the first large Ethereum application. It had so much money in it. It was really the first dApp, and it crashed and burned. We see Ethereum Classic really struggling right now with transaction throughput and market cap, and who knows, maybe that would have happened to Ethereum if we didn't roll the DAO back. Because a lot of people lost money, a lot of people lost confidence in it, and the fact it was Vitalik, the founder of Ethereum, coming out, he's a really reputable kid, he doesn't seem malicious, I like Vitalik, he came out He had a bunch of connections in Ethereum and said, I think for the benefit of the technology, we should roll this back. And it happened. Now, what I just said is shady. The fact that one person went, no, guys, like, we're going to roll this back. Like, trust me, I'm in charge and we should listen. And a lot of people hate Ethereum for that and think Vitalik is an authoritarian and think that it's super centralized. Always going to have different ideological differences in crypto. And that's the beauty of it, is that crypto found a way to bring people together by making them selfish. Everyone in crypto is looking out for themselves. No, miners are securing the network, but they're trying to mine a block and get the block reward. Crypto and blockchain is beautiful because it fixed the tragedy of the commons, because it made people contribute to the whole by being selfish, which is just genius. I love me some blockchain. Great question. And there are other people who would stand there and say Ethereum is trash and Ethereum Classic is the OG because we didn't have any rollbacks and we're still a real blockchain. You see Roger Ver like freaking out about Bitcoin Cash, and who else? All those like shady maximalists that were like supporting Bitcoin Cash and SD. You're always going to find someone that will support any different chain and like believe in it. So whatever, you just got to do your own research and come up with your own morals and values when it comes to blockchain. I'm going to dive into Lightning Network a little bit here. Honestly, I'm not super well versed on Lightning Network because I was like in the trenches of the Ethereum land at Consensus for the last 3 years. But the coolest thing about Lightning Network is that it is kind of a DeFi application. It's adding a layer 2 onto Bitcoin and adding more extended functionality than just the base layer of holding Bitcoin, sending Bitcoin, store value, digital gold. URL is there. It was a scalability solution. Scalability, if you've heard about it before, it's like #1 thing in blockchain. It's what everyone's freaking out about. It's what Ethereum's freaking out about right now with their transition to ETH 2.0. Transaction throughput, block sizes, all that stuff is all about scalability. And this was a scalability solution for Bitcoin. Wow, I don't even know what it is anymore. I think Bitcoin's like, what are their block times? Like 12 minutes or something, who knows? Visa does 27,000 transactions per minute. And blockchain has to get up there if it's ever gonna compete with these centralized payment networks. What time is it, 8:20? Oh, killing it. How long do I have till 9 or before that? You guys went out early? Should I try to go fast?
Yeah, we have till 6 o'clock, which would be your 9 p.m.
Okay, perfect. We're on pace here. It was a white paper written by Joseph Poon and Thaddeus Dryja in 2015. Joseph Poon was also very involved in the Ethereum community and like optimistic rollups and state channels way back in the day. Sharding, Joseph Poon was really into sharding. So the transactions are sent over a network of micro payments channels, a layer 2 built on top of Bitcoin. So it moves small and frequent transactions off chain. People always say like, one day you'll be able to buy coffee with Bitcoin. Like right now, that's just not viable because you'd have to pay taxes on it and you'd have to just send a transaction to the blockchain and like all this crazy stuff. So we're trying to find ways to like make simple blockchain transactions easy, seamless, off-chain, not taking up a bunch of transaction throughput on the network. So what this is it uses the native smart contracting language of Bitcoin, which is not as expressive as like Solidity on Ethereum. It's not a full smart contract programming language, but it allows you to do some things. And it creates a 2-party ledger entry in Bitcoin that kind of marks the beginning of a state channel. You both commit a certain amount of Bitcoin, and it creates a side state channel. It's bidirectional. So we got our good friends Bob and Alice here. Bob and Alice open a Lightning Network channel on Bitcoin. They both like commit 3 Bitcoin. And then let's say they're going on vacation and Bob pays Alice for a beer and beer pays Bob, and you guys get what I'm trying to say. You do a bunch of different transactions, and those are not on chain. Those are done in the Lightning channel. So they're not taking up Bitcoin transaction throughput. There's no fees. It's much faster. And then let's say they're driving on the way back home, they're all done, Bob's about to drop Alice off, and then they're like, okay, we're done paying each other for the weekend. So they close their Lightning Network channel, and then that final balance between the two is what gets reported back onto the blockchain. So instead of them doing a main Bitcoin blockchain transaction for every single purchase that weekend, they're just opening a Lightning Network channel. It's allowing them much faster transaction throughput. So then all that's on the Bitcoin blockchain is Bob and Alice committed 3 Bitcoin each. And then at the end of the weekend, it says, actually, Bob has 2 Bitcoin and Alice has 4, because let's say Alice paid for more that weekend, so she needed to be compensated more.
Excuse me. So what you mean is that this thing you just talk about is kind of like a branch in GitHub, right? And what they do is like a merge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. I get it.
Yeah, so it's like merging to master. You are like taking a fork of that, and absolutely, GitHub's a great way to think about. Wow, GitHub's a great metaphor for state channels and micropayment channels. Very smart. Yeah. So until it is ready, you don't merge code to master midway through. You wait until it's all tested. You wait until it's audited by your coworkers and everything. And then once it's all done, you merge it back to master. And then that is what is on the public ledger. Good metaphor. The channel closes.
So just another question as well too, Joe. So maybe if you want to kind of say a few words about the layer 2 and what are the layer means in case that.
Yeah, absolutely. So layer 1. Layer 1 is always the core consensus protocol layer of the blockchain. So if you are sending a transaction on Bitcoin, sending a transaction on Ethereum, a base layer transaction that is like a layer 1. When you are holding crypto in your wallet, when you have Bitcoin in a Bitcoin wallet that is being held by the network on layer 1 in a native wallet address. The Bitcoin network is just made up of addresses, and in that address is the value. Layer 2 is when you're building on top of that core protocol. It's not necessarily sending a bunch of transactions or interacting with stuff all the time. It's an extended functionality from the original protocol. And 9 times out of 10, it's an attempt to add scalability, to be able to do more without taking up as much energy from the network. This is just one layer 2 solution on Bitcoin. It's one of the only layer 2 solutions I'm really aware of. I know there's a million layer 2 solutions on Ethereum right now, just trying to get the transaction throughput up, because with all the dApps and DeFi stuff going on, the Ethereum network has been crazy clogged. There has never been more of a need for layer 2 solutions. Yeah, so it's just the next echelon up, the next tier up from the core protocol. And it most of the time it's allowing you to more flexibility. You can add more expressive programming languages. We think of Blockstack in a sense is kind of like a layer 2 extendability of Bitcoin. It's a good question though. Did I answer?
Yeah, very nice. So do you envision other layers?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm about to get a little pessimistic here, actually, with comparing Lightning Network to DeFi. You guys might have heard about all the DeFi craziness last week from Ethereum. DeFi is decentralized finance. It's just like allowing you to do more stuff with your crypto than just hold it or send transactions. I think like the first DeFi was kind of like the DAO hack on Ethereum. The other big next DeFi event was MakerDAO, which was kind of hilarious because so many people were like crypto rich and cash poor. This guy. And they wanted a way to lock up their crypto and get fiat. And MakerDAO allowed you to do that. You would lock up Ethereum and then you would receive DAI in return. And DAI was a stable coin pegged 1-to-1 to the US dollar. So it was much less volatile. Stable coins, if you don't know what they are, they're crypto tied to the US dollar 1-to-1. And it's because they kind of arose because people were freaking out about volatility in crypto. And the massive price swings were really discouraging retail investors and normal consumers. So all the way back up, MakerDAO is allowing you to receive those stable coins for locking up your Ether, and then you convert the stable coins to US dollars, and the next thing you know, you just got a fiat loan from your crypto. That was kind of where DeFi blew up. Lightning Network is, in a sense, like a layer 2 DeFi solution. It's allowing you to do faster transaction throughput. But honestly, I got to rain on Lightning Network's parade a little bit because it has not been as promising as a lot of Bitcoiners thought it was going to be. When dApps and stuff were really taking off on Ethereum, Bitcoiners would always champion Lightning Network as like, you guys have DeFi, but we have Lightning Network. But there's really only $12 million locked in it right now compared to the $12 billion in the DeFi world, which is why it's like critical to give people ways to use their Bitcoin, and why like Blockstack is focused on Bitcoin, because we think Bitcoin has been neglected in all the fun. We want kittens and all these like, lately all these like meme coins have popped up on Ethereum, like Sushi Swap or Yam token, like yield farming. Ethereum and DeFi is weird right now, but it's really exciting and cool because there's so much experimentation. And like the reason I'm in crypto, the reason I'm in blockchain is because I genuinely think it is on the crest of the crashing wave of technology. Like it is the front lines. If I was alive in the 90s, I would have been messing around with the internet because I care a lot about technology and where it's going and what it's enabling society to do. And I genuinely think that crypto is the front lines of futurism right now. So I want to see people doing cool stuff with Bitcoin. I want to see people doing cool stuff with Ethereum. Just the nature of my experience in the industry, I'm pretty coin agnostic at this point. I just want to see decentralization work and really take off.
So just a question. So in terms of kind of the last word you actually mentioned, decentralization, is this Lightning Network and DeFi kind of going against that decentralization by creating the island of this currency and sort of getting it out of the chain, and perhaps, I mean, you essentially no longer part of the blockchain when you get into that?
Yeah,
silo?
absolutely. It's diversifying a lot of like people's portfolios, and it's no longer like centralized in a particular network. And also it's almost like securing networks even more, because a lot of DeFi applications, you lock up your crypto. And I mean, you see here, this isn't like the worth of the DeFi market. This is how much crypto is locked in the DeFi market right now, doing stuff, yielding returns, or giving you a CDP or something like that. There is $12 billion locked in the network right now, and that takes it off the table, you know. And the supply and demand in crypto is like, people are so diehard about supply and demand because it's what currency is all about. I mean, since the dawn of time, they were using sticks and bundles of fish, and then once they found metal, they were using metal, and then once they could turn it into plastic, they made credit cards. Like it's all just about supply and demand and what we're using to represent currency. So the reason, going back to the earlier statement, that immutability is so critical is because that's why people think Bitcoin's going to be like worth $100,000 one day, because looking at the US government right now, just continuing to print money. You look in Venezuela, they're buying loaves of bread with billion-dollar bills or something. The way states throughout time have continued to like manipulate the money supply and use it to like benefit the rich and corporations. The fact that there's a currency that has a like fixed supply and cannot be messed with by anyone is outrageous, and is why people think it's going to be so successful. Because fast forward into the dystopian future, we got a real good look at dystopia this year. You need stuff to be out of government's hands, and that's why supply is so huge. So sorry, I like to rant and like go on a lot of tangents. So all the way back to value.
Kind of back to that question. So when you put the money in whether it's in the Lightning Network or you put it in a DeFi, the internal transaction that is happening, they're not really being reflected on the main chain, are they?
This is true. This chart is only public Lightning Network transactions. I personally don't know the proportion of private to public Lightning Network transactions, but when maybe that means that those channels are like still open, but it is aware of the balances of people's wallets and addresses once the state channel is closed. So yeah, this is only the public Lightning Network. I'm not aware of how many like private transactions there are. There are a couple teams working on Lightning Networks right now. A project super near and dear to our heart at Lightning Labs and Elizabeth Stark. They are working on Lightning Network as well as Blockstream. There are teams pushing the technology forward, and I'm hoping that it gets a bunch more value locked and gets used much more, because it would drastically increase the throughput of Bitcoin, allow us to do a lot more transactions, and just make it more usable in general. Okay, I'm gonna dive into Blockstack a little bit. Yeah, we're building the tools for the user-owned internet. Like I said, it's all about giving control back to the user. We want the internet to be owned by the user, not by Tim Cook or Jeff Bezos. Lots of words on a slide. Everything we do is open source. We're just trying to get from like centralized traditional web to decentralized application, and we're doing that by building software and tools to do that, and making a decentralized computing network. We believe blockchain technology is going to empower developers and return digital rights to consumers. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about Stacks 2.0. This is where the innovation in Bitcoin comes in. Blockstack's been around for about like 5 or 6 years now. Munib is like a freak and was at Princeton 6 years ago, just like crazy smart, looking at all the different protocols, looking at Bitcoin. So many projects sprung up and were like, we want a blockchain. Now what do we do with it? Just like blockchain was such a buzzword there for a while, and so many projects just sprung up with a head full of steam and didn't really like think about the philosophy of what they were doing. Munib sat back, looked at a bunch of other protocols, looked at consensus mechanisms, and finally came up with Stacks 2.0. We had Stacks 1.0 back in the day, but it was all about authentication and self-sovereign identity. All it really was you had a Blockstack ID, and then you used that to like log into dApps. Stacks 2.0 is changing the game. So we think Web3, now you guys know what Web3 means, will introduce true internet ownership. Like we're staking the house on this thesis that it's coming. It's going to introduce better privacy and autonomy for users, and it's going to be anchored to Bitcoin. It took me a long time to like wrap my head around this, because I was so entrenched in the Ethereum community. But as I elaborated on, like, we just got to make Bitcoin more usable, more exciting, more stuff to do with it. It's not going anywhere. It is so secure. Like we mentioned earlier, the immutability of it, the fact that it didn't have a Vitalik coming in, rolling back the chain. It really is the purest crypto in the game. So we believe Stacks 2.0 represents like a blueprint by which Web3 can emerge and scale, but still be anchored to Bitcoin. Designed with security, scalability, and speed in mind. That is the trilemma. If you guys have heard about the blockchain trilemma, it's a triangle, and at the 3 points are security, scalability, and speed. And people always say that you can't get two of those things without sacrificing the third. So like if you're on this part of the triangle and you're getting security and scalability, you're going to sacrifice speed. And it makes sense, you know, Ethereum right now, or Bitcoin has unparalleled security. It is super secure. And it's pretty scalable, but it can be a little slow. Ethereum's a little faster, but a lot less secure, has had a lot more vulnerabilities because of the smart contract programming language, and isn't very scalable in its current form. You guys get it. Every single blockchain or protocol you're going to come across is lying on a dot somewhere in this triangle. And we think we found a good little combination of 3 in there. So,
Okay, so just yeah, so this is, I think, wonderful. Can we get a little bit more depth on the proof of transfer or something you're going to talk about?
oh yeah, going into it
Okay,
right now.
okay, okay.
Um, Yeah, these are the three cool things about Stacks 2.0, the totally like innovative novel stuff that we're pulling off. Proof of transfer is a totally novel consensus mechanism that leverages Bitcoin to secure a completely new independent network. And it's not possible with proof of work or proof of stake. Proof of work is what Bitcoin and Ethereum are currently running on, their consensus mechanism. It's when miners are competing to solve a cryptographic puzzle. It's a crazy game. It's a crazy race where all these miners are trying their hardest, expending all their GPU power. There's warehouses over in Russia full of GPUs trying to solve these problems. It's just a cryptographic hash, super difficult to solve. And okay. And that is proof of work. It expends a lot of electricity, and it requires very specialized hardware. There were these things called ASICs that came out, which were GPUs created just for the purpose of mining cryptocurrency. No gaming in mind, no streaming video. These GPUs are just to be inserted into a massive server rack and to mine cryptocurrency. Proof of work is cool, and it found a way to solve the three generals problem or whatever, the paradox where three generals are around a city and they're deciding when to attack. How do you all attack at the same time? That's like a metaphor used for blockchain a lot. How do all the nodes agree on the same state? How do all of the participants in the network agree on the most recent blockchain? And that is where mining comes in. They're trying to solve a computational problem to lead the next block, and then all the miners hop on that block. Blah, 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 that's a mouthful. Proof of stake, which Ethereum is transitioning to with ETH2, and there's a bunch of other proof of stake blockchains. I'm going to put my foot in my mouth. I think like Tezos is a little proof of stakey. They're like a combination of the two. Proof of stake, instead of expending electricity and burning computational power to secure the network, you're locking up your cryptocurrency. We talked a lot about locking up crypto with DeFi and Lightning. So when Ethereum transitions to proof of stake, you will lock up 32 Ether to become a validator. And it's kind of signaling that you have skin in the game, you're committing 32 ETH and you care about the network and upholding it, and you are here as a validator to process transactions and keep things going. So whereas in proof of work, the incentive to mine is getting that mining reward or transaction fees. In proof of stake, the incentive is to like earn a return, a yield on your locked crypto. Then Stacks 1.0 started out, we were on the right path with something called proof of burn. And it was where miners, instead of burning computational power or locking up crypto, they were burning Bitcoin to signal their commitment. They would send Bitcoin to an invalid address, like a 0x00000, just an invalid address that nobody had the keys to. You could never get the Bitcoin out of. And that was how they signaled their participation in the Stacks 1.0 network. It was proof of burn mining, and you would receive stacks for burning your Bitcoin. Now that might seem counterintuitive, but it's never good to burn value, but you received different value in the form of stacks. But we like Bitcoin at Blockstack, and we didn't want to be burning it. So we created something called proof of transfer. Similar to proof of burn, where you're still sending Bitcoin somewhere to compete to mine a block, but instead you are sending it to stackers. The next item there is stacking, and it's a novel value transfer mechanism where stacks holders can earn Bitcoin for actively participating in consensus. What does this mean? This means that stackers, people that have stacks tokens, are locking up their stacks on chain, much like Ethereum validators will lock up Ether in ETH 2.0. And it's upholding the network, it's adding security, it's adding value. And we think they should be compensated for that participation. That is where the Bitcoin is going, that the miners are transferring. Proof of transfer, miners are transferring Bitcoin to try to compete to mine a block. The more Bitcoin you commit, the higher proportion chance you have of leading the block and receiving the block reward. And then the VRF, the verifiable random function. That's kind of like the brain of the consensus mechanism that allows randomness and random choosing of reward recipients and miners. That takes the Bitcoin that the miners committed and disperses it to those stackers that were locking up their stacks and upholding the network. And that beautiful interplay between Bitcoin and stacks and miners and stackers is what keeps the network going, and what it's all about, what this whole presentation has been about. There is no protocol that uses Bitcoin as an extension of security. Munib sat back and was like, Bitcoin's already burning all that energy, has all of that market cap. Why would we forsake that and just go to start an entirely new chain and have to do proof of work all over again? So Stacks 2.0 and proof of transfer is a way that other protocols can anchor into Bitcoin. And yeah, scalability, transaction throughput, all that good stuff that you want that is lacking in Bitcoin can be available on the Stacks network. And any other network could plug into Bitcoin just as this is happening. Now, the biggest, most important part of Stacks 2.0.
So just one moment. So then can you think of the Stack 2.0 as also same as the Layer 2.0? Is another way, is almost like a Lightning network on its own? Is that a way of thinking about it?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say it's like Layer 2. I was about to say like a lot of Layer 2 solutions don't have their own token, but that's false. Some definitely do. I guess it's like weird for me to call it Layer 2 because I'm so used to like Layer 2 being referenced on like other chains. But hell yeah, this is a way that you can build on top of Bitcoin. And I think because you're not like actively using the Bitcoin scripting language to like build new stuff on Bitcoin, I think like that would be like pure Layer 2. We're more so just using the Bitcoin blockchain for transactions and using the Bitcoin currency to power the network. So Bitcoin blocks and Stacks blocks are in lockstep. So there's a hash to the Stacks block in all of the Bitcoin transactions that like anchor the Stacks blockchain to Bitcoin. But what allows for the increased transaction throughput is Stacks has micro blocks in between all of the main blocks that allow for exponentially more transaction throughput and scalability. And you can do all of the transactions needed for all of these dApps and DeFi applications and stuff. Which is what brings me to my next point.
Sorry, just 1 second.
Go for it.
I got a question on what do you mean by lockup that you previously mentioned? Because like when you lock up your crypto, which means your crypto is not going to be usable anymore. So how does this process create more value? I'm a little bit confused.
It keeps value locked in the network. So it's like you look at the Lightning Network and how much value is locked in it, or DeFi and how much value is locked in it. It's just a badge of legitimacy and how many people are using it and how useful people think it is. And reward cycles are pretty short. They're like a week long or something on Stacks 2.0. I know like
1 second. So I'm still confused. Like, what's the incentive of locking up your cryptocurrency?
To receive the Bitcoin from the Stacks miners. So you are locking up your stacks for a reward cycle. Let's say it's like a week or something. You lock up your stacks and then you receive the Bitcoin that the miners are committing to mine. So they're not burning electricity to compete to mine. They're sending Bitcoin to the mothership in Stacks 2.0, and then that mothership is sending that Bitcoin to the stackers. And so they are receiving like Bitcoin interest on their Stacks bank accounts, so to say.
Can I understand it as a way to like keep people stuck in this cryptocurrency?
I think it's less like,
because you get interest, right? If you keep your cryptocurrency in there and just lock it up, you receive money basically. So which means it will give give the people incentive to invest more.
Yeah, it's an incentivization mechanism, actually. And like I said earlier, blockchain is all about being selfish and trying to manipulate people's selfishness into good stuff. And game theory, if you guys like aren't reading up on game theory and gamification right now, oh my gosh, if I had a nickel for every time a consensus someone said change the incentives, change the world. Like the world is one big game theory. It's all about aligning incentives and making people incentivized to perform certain actions. And yeah, sure. If there is an incentive for people to receive Bitcoin by locking up their stacks, maybe they don't need their stacks for a while. Yeah, that's definitely an incentive. And we kind of think of like Stacks 2.0 as an incentive to Bitcoiners in general. You know, Bitcoiners have been sitting on the sideline as like a bunch of cool experimentation has been happening in all these other chains. Bitcoin doesn't have any like cool dApps right now. They don't have ways to lock up Bitcoin and receive fiat, all those like crazy DeFi applications. So we think that this is a way to like incentivize people to use their Bitcoin and commit Bitcoin to mine on this network. And that's why we hope that the price of both Bitcoin and stacks will appreciate as well as the value of the network. And yeah, that's a good question. Hopefully I answered it.
Correct to say that.
Wait, so how are the miners getting reimbursed in this kind of a sense, or what's the reason why the miners would, if the stackers are getting what the miners are taking?
The miners are receiving, if you win the block and you lead the block, then you receive the block reward just like any other blockchain. In Bitcoin and Ethereum both work today because they are on proof of work. And when a miner wins the block, they receive a reward. You know, there's the halving every couple of years where the block reward goes down and it will asymptote over X number of years. Yeah, I think Ethereum just went from like 5 to 2.5 a little while back.
Okay.
Yeah, so the miners receive stacks and also transaction fees. So as the network grows, as it gains a network effect, there's more transaction throughput, the miners will receive those fees. And I mean, you guys are asking all the right questions. Always second guess everything. Always be Byzantine in 2020, and make sure the incentives are there for you. You know, don't jump into anything just because it looks like a newfangled crypto. You gotta, is this valuable to me? And we believe that, trust me, it took me a while to be like, wait, why would people want to give away Bitcoin to receive random stacks token? But it all makes sense. You know, we're cultivating a new, more expressive network than Bitcoin, but is still tied to the security of Bitcoin. And we think we have a really good use case for like bringing the expressive programming language like Solidity or dApps and DeFi, while still interacting with Bitcoin land and using that digital.
So kind of going back to the original question, so if lockstep you are with the chain, with the Bitcoin chain, and so for every block that gets created in the stacks, also one block is created on Bitcoin. Is that correct?
Yeah, but there's a bunch
of... Is it a one-to-one?
Yeah, there's a bunch of micro blocks in between stack blocks though, and it's almost like a lightning.
So for a second, if you kind of put, let's say for 1 second, put the micro block aside. So we have for one block in stack, we have one block in Bitcoin. So we go step by step. There might be some micro block between the two blocks in the stack, which are not reflected on Bitcoin, but like put them aside for 1 second. So then in terms of the reward system, so on the Bitcoin chain, while the reward, as explained, already is incorporated on whoever wins that block, whoever miner wins that block. But on the stack, what we have is you have, I guess, pseudo miners or a second level miner who they're not really mining. Instead, they have locked up their coins, and based on the proportion they have locked, they get some reward. But where is that reward coming from? Who pays that reward? Is that part of the reward that was received in the Bitcoin, or how does that reward just generated?
the stacking rewards is generated from the miners that are committing Bitcoin. So it's kind of like, it's like a triple flow here. Miners commit Bitcoin to compete to lead a block. That Bitcoin goes to the stackers because the stackers are locking up their stacks. And the miners are also receiving stacks from the block rewards or transaction fees.
But so, for example, let's say generation of one block on Bitcoin is $5 or 5 Bitcoin, and so the miner gets $5, and there were some transaction. There was $1 transaction, so it was $5 to mine it. There was $1 for the transaction fee. So the miner person X got $6, and so now, how much money is on for the stack block that was generated, and where does that money come from? Where is that reward coming from? Is it coming from that $6 pile, or is some other way it's being generated?
Lost me a little bit there. A miner.
The miner creates a block, and the reward for the block is you get 5 Bitcoin, and there's 1 Bitcoin of transaction fee reward. Just a basic Bitcoin reward system.
Is this in the Bitcoin blockchain or the Stacks blockchain?
In the Bitcoin blockchain.
Okay.
But then you said you're aligning your stack blockchain to the Bitcoin. Yes? And for every block that creates it in the stack, there's also corresponds to the block into the Bitcoin. Yes?
Yeah.
So now,
you can, I brought up this image just because it illustrates like the stacks blocks, the main anchored blocks are tied 1-to-1 with the Bitcoin blockchain.
perfect.
But there are all these micro block streams in between that
sure,
are
let's
like,
put the micro block on the side. Yeah,
okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so now, so you have, so that's a perfect figure. So, so now on the bottom, you have your Bitcoin. So let's say you are on the first one, on the first block that was created on Bitcoin, which also corresponds 1-to-1 with STX, your block on the stack. The reward on the Bitcoin was $6, $5 just Bitcoin, $1 transaction fee, $6, let's say. Now, how much is the reward for STX? And then where is that reward coming from? Is that a portion of the $6 that was created?
No, I think I get what
Bitcoin,
you're saying now. It's like a completely independent ecosystem happening on the Stacks blockchain. All of the Bitcoin
Okay.
on the Stacks blockchain like isn't tied into the consensus mechanism of the Bitcoin blockchain. It's just Bitcoin that the miners had on hand in their balances that they are choosing to inject into the Stacks 2.0 blockchain.
So basically just the creation of the stacks is just being recorded on the blockchain along with other transaction that has nothing to do with the stacks.
Yeah, and the fact that we are leveraging like the native cryptocurrency of that protocol is like, and how that is a core fuel for the consensus mechanism is in a sense how we extend the security of Bitcoin. Yes.
So you have your own coin within your own layer. So there's your own coin, and that coin is kind of being generated with a proof of stake style, because you pulled in resources and you get some reward for those pulled resources. But then you're also, I guess, as your figure showed, you also anchored into the blockchain. Some record of all the transaction that is happening or all the block creation in your stack is being documented in a trailhead of Bitcoin as well.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
And there's a bunch of like other crazy technical stuff that my engineers would be able to say more. Like you can signal participation in stacking or mining, like even if the stacks nodes were, even if your stacks node was down, there would be a way for you to send a Bitcoin transaction purely on the Bitcoin blockchain, and it would be able to trigger an event on the Stacks 2.0 blockchain. Just an interesting interplay like between protocols and interoperability that like really hasn't been seen before in Bitcoin. Okay, wow, we're really good. We're landing the plane here. Sorry, I've been playing a lot of Microsoft Flight Simulator. Smart contracts are great. You guys know about them, just like code that lives in the blockchain, allows you to do stuff. And I'll kind of end with this in that Stacks 2.0 has smart contracts. Boom, like that's the mic drop, in that you can now have smart contracts that are existing in the same ecosystem as Bitcoin. And we think that's pretty huge. Smart contracts are what really add the zest to the blockchain, allow you to create NFTs, digital collectibles, those DAOs, decentralized organizations that people can contribute money to, business model templates like subscriptions to newsletters, all sorts of stuff you can do with smart contracts. Yeah, let me see where we're at here. Yeah, look, there's some blockchain stuff in here. Look at all that numbers. Yeah, we're down to really the final minute here, so I'll just say, yeah, we got a bunch of crap going on right now. Stacks 2.0 is on the horizon. We're in the test net right now. We're in a bunch of different phases of our test net. We just launched Krypton, which brought proof of transfer. Proof of transfer just went live, and it wasn't for a long time. We were still using proof of burn. We just flipped the switch on proof of transfer. We're starting to see our community come up with all these cool stacking tools and proof of transfer mining tools. And personally, as like someone who's been in the blockchain space for a long time, like, I think our project is awesome and has a lot of ambition, a lot of smart people. Holy heck, I'm like so outclassed by all the Ivy League people at my company. And we really have a great vision, and we're trying to make it happen. Check out our Discord, a lot of happiness in there. We get a forum. We just got new dark mode docs. You know you're gonna check out the docs just because they're dark mode. And biggest thing is we got 2 hackathons right now. If you guys want to check them out over on DevPost, just search like Blockstack DevPost or something, or maybe I'll throw a link in here and you guys can get access to the presentation. But we're doing Hack Stacks, which is totally focused on proof of transfer mining and stacking, building tools to make it much easier than like messing around in the command line. We're hoping for a day where you can just be like, yes, stack my Stacks tokens and forget about it, and just receive my Bitcoin rewards. And then Hack DeFi, for anyone who has messed around with Solidity on Ethereum and made a smart contract. We are just like dying for eager smart contract devs like yourselves, just like young people that are excited about the technology. Hell yes. And Hack DeFi is all about making DeFi applications with smart contracts. Always a lot of stuff going on in Blockstack land. We're legit. We're the only ever SEC Reg A offering. We're like the only crypto that's cool with the SEC. Munib is just like tight with all of the Illuminati of like Brian Armstrong and Elizabeth Stark and Ryan Shea and all these like big reputable names in the industry. So I'm really excited to see if we make waves this fall with Stacks 2.0 launch and everything. And if one day in the future people are using DeFi and DAOs and dApps with Bitcoin on Stacks 2.0, I'll be happy, man. I'll be smiling. Provoking questions for you too. Oh no. I got this like Chrome extension where if I hover over an image, it like magnifies it. It's like really nice 9 times out of 10, but really bad sometimes. Here's some questions to think about in your free time. And that's all I got for you people. There's no way I'm going to keep you past 6 o'clock because I used to bolt out of my night classes so fast. Holy heck, still blown away by the questions that I received and the interest in this course. Cannot thank you enough, Professor, for having me. Just looking at your syllabus, if I could go back and just have 2 hours a day where I'm sitting back and getting blockchain information spoon-fed to me. Oh, you guys are so lucky. But take that out of the classroom and really get into crypto land. Just start messing around with all the applications. Start to hold crypto. I'm not telling, this isn't financial advice, but skin in the game is huge. You know, even if you get one sat, one little Satoshi, I wouldn't expect anyone to go out and get a full Bitcoin nowadays, but it just participate in the ecosystem, play around with dApps, get Coinbase, mess around with some of the stuff on there, do your own research, read white papers, and there's so many good podcasts and newsletters and whatnot. you guys are out there near Silicon Valley. You're in another hotbed. New York and your area over there are kind of the two crypto motherships right now. Probably a lot of cool companies hiring around you. And oh my gosh, people are hungry for blockchain devs and blockchain marketers, and crypto people. Get brushed up and you got careers waiting for you on silver platters. I'm telling you. I got a job in the middle of the pandemic. I got hired on April 13th, people, as the like $20 million unemployment report came out. Really respect you guys for messing around with blockchain and taking this class. And thanks for having me, Professor. You got anything else? We could do a short Q&A.
No, it's wonderful. Thank you so much. So I guess for my own benefits, to kind of summarize, understand sort of the key insight of the Blockstack is, so it allows you to, on Bitcoin, add this layer to and anchor any protocol of your choice. So there's a proof of stake or proof of, any proof of X, and then you can generate a coin. You can use your own protocol, and it allows you to do arbitrary programs like smart contracts, and you're still tied into the Bitcoin itself.
I'd say the like too long didn't read or explain like I'm five is like trying to bring that expressive functionality that has really taken off on other chains, the smart contracts, the more dynamic programming languages, and finding a way to plug that into Bitcoin. It's not layer one, it's not on Bitcoin. I'm not saying smart contracts on Bitcoin, but the fact that we are using Bitcoin, every Ethereum project and DeFi project is la 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 to Bitcoin. Like no one wants to touch Bitcoin. And I think that's just a foolish decision, because Bitcoin is far and away what people are holding in the world right now. What Uncle Fred is talking about at Thanksgiving, you know? So yes, Stacks 2.0 and Blockstack is kind of offering up the blueprint and the technology, totally open source, to be able to extend and anchor into Bitcoin a little bit.
All right, thank you so much. It was a great talk. And if there's no other questions, let's join me and thank our speaker for a great, inspiring talk. And
yeah, real super quick, Dogecoin is like awesome because it's literally just like a meme. Like it didn't have any like actual value. It was just what people thought it was, which just demonstrated that like digital assets are real and people can assign value to them. Where I would recommend you buy crypto as a beginner, Coinbase. Coinbase is safe. They hold your private keys. Just make sure you remember your username and password. If you get a large amount of crypto at some point, I would recommend you getting self-sovereign with it, getting a hardware wallet, which kind of like is an external device that holds your private keys. The one thing people say with Coinbase is that you can get your phone number ported. Someone can call your phone company and say, hi, I'm Joe Bender. Like I lost my phone, just like give me a new one or something. And then they like get into your Coinbase and drain your account. So if you're like holding large amounts in Coinbase, call your phone provider and be like, do not port my phone if someone calls you and asks you to do it. Yeah, Coinbase. I think that's all the questions I got. HODL. Don't let your memes be dreams, people. Just
don't. All right, sounds good. So as part of the course, we're not advocating buying any coins, so that's your personal choice.
Oh yeah, personal choices.
No,
oh yeah,
I'm just kidding. Sure. So,
never investment advice.
So we're not offering investment advice, especially not on gambling, which is Bitcoin.
Nope.
So
no Blockstack for you kids. No late night crypto gambling.
So all right, okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. This was an absolute blast.